The ACT math section is 60 questions. You have 60 minutes to do it, and that obviously works out to 1 minute per question. However, I don't really find that this is a useful way of thinking about timing for this section. What I recommend instead is that you take question 40 and consider that to be the halfway point of the test. So give yourself about 30 minutes to get to question 40, and the remainder of the time, the remaining 30 minutes, to do questions 41 to 60. So this isn't completely precise. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be literally 30 minutes, but as a way to start to break down timing on the test, this is a great place to start, and it's pretty effective. And you can break it into further increments, smaller increments from there. As far as the questions that come up on the test, the ACT covers a broad range of math topics, but it doesn't get too in-depth in any one area. The questions that the test considers more difficult that it puts at the end of the test are the trigonometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus topics. So you might do some probability, sine, cosine curves, conic sections, that kind of stuff will come up. But probably if you've taken a math class that's covered that material, the stuff that you do in the math class will in general be more complicated, more in depth than what the ACT will require you to do. So if you took that a year ago or something and you don't remember it perfectly, but you kind of remember it, a lot of times that knowledge will be enough. Of course, it's worth refreshing, but in general, a math class is more difficult on those subjects than the ACT is. The other thing to keep in mind is that the ACT is not a math class, and it means that you're not being graded on how you get to the right answer. So you don't have to do math in the math class way. You can use your answer choices. You can plug in, if there's a variable in the question equation and numbers in the answer choices, you can plug those numbers into the equation and see what works. If there's a variable in your question and variable in your answer choices, you can come up with your own value for that variable and test to see if what answer choice works with a given value for a variable. And there's lots of other ways to do that, and all of that probably needs more explanation. I can get to that in another video. But keep in mind that there are alternate routes to doing a problem when you're stuck. A lot of times the math class way is still a good way, but it's not the only way, and it's good to keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that the ACT is very good at getting you to make careless errors. I don't know how they do it, but they're great at it. They're really good. So a lot of times this happens in the early part of the test because most people are pressed for time to get through the test, so they rush through those early kind of easier questions, and they'll just add when they should have subtracted, or solve for X when they should have solved for Y, those kinds of things. So the best way to combat that is to write down your work. Don't try to do the math in your head, just write it down. It feels like this, it can feel like this is taking time, but really ultimately I think it saves time, because you can spend an awful lot of time trying to save time by doing work in your head. So just write down your steps and you're going to be more accurate. And it's always a quick answer is no good if it's wrong. But you need the right answer. So this is going to better guarantee that you get the right answer. And the other thing to keep in mind is about the careless errors. Just reread the question before you finalize your answer. Just make sure that you're, if they've asked you for the area of a circle, that you don't solve for the circumference or something like that, because that circumference will definitely be among the answer choices. So you just have to be aware of that and double check. It's worth the second it takes to double check. So there are obviously lots of math topics that the ACT covers, and there's lots to talk about the math section, but as a place to start, as an overview, I hope this has been helpful. Thanks.